Station, everyone. Happy new comic book day. Happy Whiplash Wednesday. I hope you guys got all the books you needed, and I hope you had a fantastic day, just like the rest of the PCP Army Bad Batch and the Backlog Bros on this amazing Whiplash Wednesday. Guys, we had a blast. It all started over on one collection down over on Instagram. That's Fable, my brother, Station. Go check him out. Also, Nick Comic Culture did drop a video showing off what Cadets Toys and Comics has to offer in the shop for New Comic Book Day, toys, figures, whatever. They have a lot to offer there, so go check out that video as well, Nick Comic Culture. But guys, today is chatting with the comic community. Today I have a special guest. He is new to the comic game, but he is not new to reading. He's read manga and he's been in this nerd culture community for a while, just with anime. But he's slowly getting into comic books, and we'll get to that, guys. Because today I want you guys to give him a hearty station to Cryo Prime, aka Cody. Station. How's it going today, my friend?
Doing good. A little hard up on the internet, so I'm actually at my job here at the old Potter's Barn.
That's right. You're in the midst of moving. Well, when this airs, you will be actually all moved in, hopefully.
Should be. End of the month, so about 3 more weeks from now.
Which is probably when this will air. So, for the viewers at home that don't know a lot about you, just give them a little bit of rundown of who you are.
Well, my name's Cody. I go by Cryo Prime online. Most of my nerd community stuff dabbles in model kits. As was mentioned, I'm more of a manga anime fan, so my model kits lean towards the Mobile Suit Gundam, robots. I've done a Goku. I've got some of the Frame Arms Girls stuff that I'm planning for the future. But from there, I mean, like you said, reading-wise, I've read almost manga entirely. Like, I dipped out of comics around 2005 just because it's the last of the comic run I have, so I know it's about when it was. And then reconnecting with an old friend in Manuel kind of put me in this comic community, and it's turned my gaze towards some American comics. And so far, I've really liked the indie scene. I've been picking up some stuff, but I haven't dabbled in the big two. And outside of that, I'm a big toy collector.
So you said you stopped collecting in 2005. So when did you start picking up comic books?
Initially, kind of hard to say because I grew up in a small town, so my comic store was a spinner rack down at the local gas station. Anytime I saw a Transformers comic, I grabbed it. So I've got most of what I assume is like a reprint of the original run, but I'm missing like an issue here and then an issue there. So I don't have like the run. Then from there, I got into, somewhere in there, there was the Airbender graphic novel. I picked those up. And then there was Firefly somewhere in there with graphic novels, and I started those. And then,
have you been reading the Firefly that's coming out now with Boom Studios?
No, but I wasn't aware of it until fairly recently, so I'm probably going to start picking it up. That's a world I just loved.
Yeah. So, like, when you started collecting comics, like, what year was that at? And, like, was it superheroes, or, like you said, you were picked up a lot of Transformers and indies, so was there any, like, DC or Marvel in that mix?
Spider-Man. I mean, he's kind of the fallback. You know, you always hear he's the most relatable hero. And growing up, I watched like the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, some of the older stuff like with Iceman and Firestar. And
Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Yep, that one. So yeah, Spider-Man was just always one that hit real close to home. Some Batman in there. I mean, I love Batman as well, but I never really got into his comics. Superman, nothing against him. I just never really liked Superman.
I get that. So, like, are you picking up Batman currently and Spider-Man currently?
Spider-Man, I'm looking to get back into. I've not heard great about like where it's currently at, but I'm hearing changes are coming, so I'm eyeballing that. Batman, not so much, just because, like I said, I've never really read Batman, so I'm not looking to get into it. so far I'm looking harder at Power Rangers and some of the horror stuff that I see coming out.
So what are some of the horror titles that you're thinking of picking up?
For sure picking up Haha, but I have the paperback of that pre-ordered. Same with Layla Starr, just because I didn't get on that soon enough, so that really spiked on me. So I'm looking, hopefully there's going to be a trade paperback of that as well. Same with, what is it, Something's Eating the Children?
Something's Killing the Children?
Something's Killing the Children. Yeah, I hear a lot about those titles, so they're on my list, but because I don't have a store near me, I got to buy things online, so it's up to the online supply as well for me.
I know I missed the boat on Something's Killing the Children as well, so I pre-ordered the hardcover and then just started getting, because the hardcover has like 1 to 15, and then issues, I just started picking up issue 16, 17, 18, and that, and just go from there, because I'll have the first 15 issues.
That's a pretty good route to go, because I also didn't think it was 15. I thought it was like 9-ish.
Yeah, there's a lot more than the 9. But there is a new series coming out called House of Slaughter, which is like, it's like, it ties into it, and it's like all about the House of Slaughter. I can't really talk about it too much because I don't know exactly what's happening in that universe. Gotcha. So I just know that there is a spin-off series.
Right on.
So you got out of collecting in 2005, but you've been reading manga for a while, haven't you?
Yep. Manga was probably same ballpark, a little bit sooner, because manga was high school age. I used to pick up Shonen Jump off of the comic rack down at the grocery store. And then my local bookstore actually started carrying manga just outright, but they didn't carry comics. So my first like full run of manga was Trigun. And then from there, it was just, and that I bought into that about the same time it was airing on Adult Swim. So I love that connection, and I just went with it.
I love Trigun. I love I used to follow the voice actor, Johnny Young Bosch, the second Black Power Ranger.
Yep.
I love his work on almost everything. That's what made, like, ever since I started watching Bleach, I started following him and like ended up watching Trigun, Wolf's Rain, shows like that. I've never got really into the whole manga thing though. I've got into watching anime, but not too much anymore. But what are some of the mangas that you've picked up throughout the years besides those ones?
One run that I really enjoyed was Claymore. That was a 26 issue run. Then from there, because I like my fantasy horror and anything that dabbles in like spirits or like powers, I'm usually on board with. But then there's a couple of left wingers on me. Like it's a 4-volume run that you can't buy physically because it's not been translated. So if you buy it physically, it's either in Japanese or French. But I've read it online through some of the different manga apps that are out there. It's called Bitter Virgin. And that one actually follows pretty deep stuff, honestly. That one follows a girl who was raped by her stepfather, got pregnant in high school, was forced to give up the kid, and then she moves out of the home and is basically rebuilding her life in another town. And the whole problem with what's going on is that she keeps to herself, and the most popular guy finds out her most secret, which was what I just told you. So then the whole run is like, initially he was going to make fun of her because she's the new kid, and now he knows something that he really wishes he didn't know. So it's this real emotional roller coaster. So yeah, it depends on what you like, but I've read a few of those. Otherwise, I've gone through Dragon Ball. I own the first couple runs of Pokemon, which are vastly different than the anime, trust me. I own all of Bleach. And nice. I just started picking up Hellsing on the hardcover collector's editions. I think there's 3 volumes of that out right now. I got volume 2 coming. And Elfen Lied was my most recent finish. So the horror side of things is where I really like. And then I've got a bunch of other stuff dabbled in.
Manga seems to be really, really high in sales. Like over comic books, manga is like the highest right now in sales over comic books. Do you
Yep.
see that around you? Like, do you see a lot of people reading manga?
Not so much, but I mean, I live in a town of 5,000 people, so a lot of the younger, like high school age, just out of high school kids that I work with are into anime and manga. So I see that. But outside of that, like people my age, I got a couple of friends from high school, but not really past that. My nearest bookstore is like an hour and a half away, and their manga section is like 5 rows and almost always picked over. So at least sales wise in a bigger area, I think so.
I know manga around here is around my area is pretty big, especially with anime. Not a lot of people like in my area. There's no comic book store, so but there's ways to get manga because they sell it at
That just bookstore.
Indigo. That's
Yeah.
what they call it here. Um, it's like your Barnes and Noble, and that's where they get it. And that's you can get like trade paperbacks from there. That's how I've been getting my Wicket and the Divine. But other than that, yeah, manga's really hit high here in this town, and then especially with Attack on Titans. Everybody talks about that. I've never
Nope.
watched it.
It's good. I've watched it. I mean, I would highly recommend it, but it also depends on what you like because, like, Demon Slayer, from what I understand, is like the biggest thing on earth right now. And I love the show, but I bought in on episode 1 when I just randomly watched it. So the hype train for me is just I liked the show.
Didn't they make a live action, or are they making a live action of Attack on Titan?
Oh, Attack on Titan. Yeah, there's 2 live action movies that the Japanese produced. I only watched the first one. I would say don't bother. They're quite different. And I have a real hard time with live action anime adaptations. There's just a lot of stuff that happens in anime that doesn't translate well to live action. Like the way emotion is depicted, certain move. Like if you watch Attack on Titan and watch the way they're swinging and the way their bodies like contort to show you motion, and then go and watch the live action version where they're just like stick figures running and zoom, it just doesn't look well.
Yeah, I get that. Like, we won't talk about the terrible Dragon Ball movie.
The thing that doesn't exist.
Yeah, it does not exist. So yeah, you have been in love with anime since high school. Won't get into how old you are now, but what are some of your favorite? I know you mentioned Bleach, which Bleach was one of my favorite animes. I didn't read the manga, but I love the series. I still have to finish it, but it's so hard to get into because you get the main story in one season, then it's a filler season, and then so you kind of lose interest after a while.
I could ship you a list of episodes that you could just not watch because that's what I did. The problem I have with Bleach is more so the fillers are not put in a good spot. And when I was buying the DVDs, they purposely offset. So you got the first episode of filler was the last episode of this season. Then the last episode of the next box set is the first episode of the non-filler plot. So if you skip the filler box set, you're 1 episode off of the plot run. So they forced you to buy that box set.
Oh, jeez.
Which is also why I own the whole run instead of just the main plot.
I've also tried to watch Naruto, but like I can only get so far into that before I stop because a lot of it's mostly talking. They just stand there and talk and tell you what they're gonna do. So I'm like, okay, I can't do this I tried to binge it. That was a bad idea.
Yeah. I like Naruto, but that's a hard one even for me to binge, especially when you start to look at it, because Naruto is 16 seasons, or was it 240 episodes for its first run, and then you get into Shippuden, which is, honestly, I lost count. It's in the 20s, I think, for seasons, but it's like 400 runs or 400 plus episodes, and now we're in Boruto, and I think that's over 200. Like I just dipped out of Naruto.
It's the same with like how far they can go with a certain series. Like Dragon Ball, Like I love Dragon Ball. I used to try to stay up till 9 o'clock and watch that. And then Dragon Ball Z came out. It was good, but then Dragon Ball GT came out, and I was like, okay, they're kind of just going back to season one in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't like that. I did like the animation though. The animation is what kept me in for most of it. It was just the storyline was not for me. What about you?
Same with GT felt like a vast departure. Yeah, and when they made Goku little again, I was already like, ah, crap, because it felt like going back to Dragon Ball. And then I don't know. Later on, you find out that like the people that made Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z didn't make GT, and you can really tell the tonal difference between the two shows. So, like, Akira Toriyama gave notes on stuff and, like, approved Super Saiyan 4, but he didn't write or do any of the animation or any of that. So, GT is its own thing.
Yeah, you can really tell, like, it just feels different, too. So, what are some of the models that you have been creating? Like, you've been creating a lot of models, like you said earlier. Like, what are some of the models that you have been creating so far?
Well, the last 2 months or so, I really have been in a rut just because of this whole housing situation I'm going through. So I'm in the middle of working on Gundam Epion, which was one I said on Manuel's Chamorro show that I was starting. So it's been a while. So there's that. I have plans for the future, but looking at what I've done in the past, I've done the Strike Freedom Gundam from Gundam Seed. I've done the GPO-4, which is Gundam 0083 Stardust Memories has the GPO line. GPO-4 was the final suit. In the show, it never got made, but in the manga, it was a prototype. So they did the model for that. Love that one, but I love the GPO line. I've done 2 of the Digimon model kits, so the War Greymon and the Metal Garurumon. The Metal Garurumon is torn apart right now, though, because I got to fix a bunch of stuff on him. I've done a Goku model kit, which I like those, but I don't know if I'll go back to those just because they feel expensive for the amount of plastic you get. Let's see, what else have I done? I mean, those I know are on my Instagram, but outside of that, I've done an old school Escaflowne model kit. I have a car model kit that I'll do at some point, but that's going to be a diorama. An old Gundam Epion from a 1/144 scale. The one I'm doing now is a 1/100 scale. That one's from like the 90s. That's not a good kit. That thing found the trash after a while. So it's been quite a range, but like I said, mostly Gundams just because that's what I've enjoyed. Robot based. I've done a few Transformers too. Granted, my last Optimus one did not turn out well, and that was my own fault.
So when did you start doing model kits?
I've been building model kits since early 2000s, early 90s. If you want something funny to laugh at, go and look up the Mobile Suit Gundam Wing model kit commercials. Oh, man, they're freaking hysterical. These kids are trying to be edgy while making model kits and talking about how cool they are. Oh, it's funny. But I made a bunch of those, and those kits are bad kits, especially by today's standards. So I've been making model kits that long, but as far as painting kits, that's newer. That's like within the last 2 to 3 years because I finally made the plunge for an airbrush. And LEDs, if you look at my stuff, I'm real big on like pushing LEDs now, and that's just like the last year or so. So it's been a progression.
So you talk about Gundam. I've never really watched Gundam in that. Did it come out as a manga before it came out as an anime?
Hard to say because I don't know the history that well of those. Because like the original Mobile Suit Gundam with Amuro, as far as I'm aware, didn't air here until like the late 90s, but that was like a late 70s, early 80s anime. So your import times were vastly different. I know there is manga running for both, like all of your main series. And like the Gundam Epion that I'm doing now is actually from Endless Waltz Teardrop Memories or Teardrop Distance. No, that's Kingdom Hearts. Winter Teardrop. It's a manga subtitle because it's from a continuation manga. Because the Epion was never in Endless Waltz.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I've tried to watch Gundam. I just couldn't really get into it. So
yeah, it's quite the multiverse to it as well.
Yeah, it seems like a vast, like, you look at animes and a lot of them are long running. A lot of them have a vast universe. A lot of the times, like Bleach was what, 14 seasons?
I think it was even longer than that. Well, yeah, no, I shouldn't say that. It ended after the Fullbringer arc, but it's coming back, I think, this year to finish off the 1,000-Year Blood War, which will actually finish the manga run. So we're getting another storyline of Bleach this year as well.
That's all right. Johnny Young Bosch kills it in the dubbed voice department.
I do like him.
So speaking of like voice actors and dubs, like who are some of your favorite dubbing voice actors? Is that how you call them?
Yeah, I mean voice actors, but if you're talking dubbing, then you're specifically doing translations. It's kind of hard to say. Admittedly, I watch most of my anime in Japanese now, just because I have like the Crunchyroll and the Funimation app, so it's essentially streamed from Japan. But when we get into the English stuff, I do like Johnny Young Bosch. I'm a pretty big fan of Vic Mignogna. If you're in the anime community, there's some things going on with him, but he's voiced a lot of my favorite characters, like Edward Elric, and he's also Broly, or was. I like most of the Dragon Ball cast once you get into Sabbath and whatnot. I think they do a good job in their roles. The Oceans dub, which was, I think, the original Canadian Dragon Ball dub, not that great, but I think they were a little truer to what the show was initially, because Dragon Ball is more of a comedy.
Yeah.
I cannot think. Justin Cook, who did Yu Yu Hakusho, I like him, and I don't know his name, but whoever's voicing Tanjiro, the main character from Demon Slayer, I actually like his voice, despite the fact that I watched Demon Slayer in Japanese first. When I do that and I go back and I watch something in English, I'm usually like, English actors will say a Japanese word and I cringe because I realize how wrong they've said it because I've watched the other stuff, despite knowing that I say it probably even worse than they do. So I have that reaction, but I've liked a lot of the Demon Slayer voice actors. That whole cast is pretty good. Plus the entirety of Cowboy Bebop. That whole voice cast I could take in just about anything.
Actually, I have to watch Cowboy Bebop. Like Stefan Missing Link, station to him, he's been telling me like check out Cowboy Bebop, and now they're coming out with a live action series on Netflix coming up. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like I said, I'm not big on live action adaptations with anime myself, especially when you like Americanize it. I think our Hollywood just doesn't do it justice. I've seen some things that I like and I've seen some things I don't like, and the stuff that I don't like leans more towards how actors have said some things in social media that has just had me rolling my eyes. I don't know. Cowboy Bebop is one that I'm gonna watch it and give it a chance, but I'm not very high on it with where it currently is.
Yeah, I'm gonna try it too, but I'm gonna go back and watch Cowboy Bebop first, and that just in case, like if you need to know what happened in Cowboy Bebop before you watch this other series.
Yeah. It's a series too, right? It's not a movie. Because initially I think it was going to be a movie, and now it's going to be a show.
Which that is a little bit better because they can work with that a little bit more. They can flesh it out a little bit more. Being on Netflix, Netflix controls like, all right, we'll give them another season. We'll let them flesh this out.
Yep.
If it does get canceled, we'll at least be able to tell the story. So I do like the lead actor though. I do like him.
Same.
I forget his name right now.
I know he played Sulu on the J.J. Abrams Star Trek. I actually really liked his interview too. Like the interview where he came out and he was like, I'm a little older to play this character, but I went back and I watched the show I like the show. I want to play this character. I was just like, okay, you're not a perfect Spike, but you're a damn good one, especially knowing how much you like that role now too.
And it's good that
that's
he went back and watched the show and got like the reference material. So it does show a lot about him as an actor. So speaking of movies, is there any movies that you grew up that you absolutely love?
Well, you're going to hear a lot of defaults with Transformers. I didn't grow up with the Transformers movie. I actually found that later, but that's a really good movie, especially for what it is. I mean, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was always a big one with their live action. And I know as a kid, I always liked the second one better, but as an adult, the first one is by far superior. Let's see. I just watched Demolition Man again the other night. I love that movie. That's early 90s. Anything with Jackie Chan, I'm usually a fan of. Childhood movies, though, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, probably pretty high up, top 5 at least.
You a big fan of the Godzilla? I remember I didn't mind the 90s Godzilla movie. That was an all right movie for the time. And then I'd always people would tell me the guy who voiced Kent Brockman and the guy who voiced Apu is in that movie too. And I was like, really?
It had a big cast for what it was.
Yeah. And I think what resonates more with me is the cartoon.
I was going to bring the cartoon up. Yeah. As a kid, as a kid, screw it. As a kid, I really enjoyed that Godzilla movie. As an adult, it's really hard for me to watch. But I picked up the Godzilla cartoon series pretty recently at Walmart because it was like $10 and it's like 49 episodes. I burned right through that. I enjoyed that whole thing.
Man, I remember for the late 90s, they did that quite a bit. They did that with the Godzilla movie. They did that with Men in Black, which was another amazing cartoon. They did that with a lot of movies back then, and they should still do that today.
Yeah, the tie-ins and the crossovers. I like seeing that stuff.
Because you remember Men in Black, the cartoon, right?
Yeah, and I enjoyed it. It was a fun take on Men in Black that fleshed out a lot of the characters that people wished had more screen time.
Yeah, like I said, you get more done with a TV show than a movie because you just have that main story you could tell. But I'm trying to think other cartoons that came out that were movie adaptations.
I know there was a RoboCop one. Wasn't there a Rambo cartoon as well? And I mean, there was Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that was the Real Ghostbusters.
Was there 2 series then? Because there was I'm thinking the Extreme Ghostbusters.
Yeah, the Real Ghostbusters came out, and if you go back and watch the movies that made us, Ghostbusters was going to be called the Real Ghostbusters for a while. Because they couldn't get the name, or they were going to be called something different. But because there was a series called Ghostbusters, a couple of years prior, that had a gorilla. So.
Oh, right. I remember that one with the gorilla. I remember getting confused by that too at one point because it was Ghostbusters, and I was like, "This ain't Ghostbusters."
Yeah, but there's The Mask. The Mask was a great cartoon, and I think that was probably the guy Rob Paulson. He voiced the Mask in the cartoon, and he also voiced Yakko in Animaniacs, Carl in Jimmy Neutron. He's a good voice actor.
For sure. Yeah, because then we also had Ace Ventura, too. I know that one's probably not loved as much. That one was hard for me to watch as a kid.
But it's funny because I think Godzilla, the reason why I love it so much, and every time I see that cover for the 90s Godzilla movie, I get that good feeling. It's because probably the cartoon. I'm not gonna lie, it's probably because of the cartoon.
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I have a lot of stuff that I know is real cringeworthy and just not all that like look back upon fondly. That like I see it and it just brings me back to a happier time in my life. You know, maybe it was just this fleeting moment, but I remember it.
So, like, what are some of the cartoons that you grew up with that you just absolutely love? I know you said you didn't find the Transformers movie until later on, but you did grow up with the Beast Wars.
Yep. I even grew up with Transformers, but that was at a stage where they were rerunning it and it was rebranded as G2. So I think that was the first 2 seasons up until the movie that they just reran episodes. From there, there's definitely Beast Wars. And Beast Wars reboot, I love those. Mighty Max was another one that I really enjoyed. You get into later stuff, like I know we've both talked about Mummies Alive, which I like those. Extreme Dinosaurs. Was it King Arthur and the Knights of Justice was one that I recently had to go and rediscover. I love that show too, but it doesn't end. Did I say Street Sharks? I know I said Extreme Dinosaurs, but Street Sharks. Turtles are kind of the obvious one, but a lot of the shows that I really enjoy going back to are the things that like spawned from those type of shows.
Yeah. I remember Samurai Pizza Cats was another good one.
That was a funny one too.
Yeah. I loved how they were just trying to like play off of the Turtles' success and like using animals for everything, like Street Sharks, Samurai Pizza Cats, Mighty Mice from Mars.
Yep. Like I said, I love the Turtles, but a lot of the stuff I look back upon are the things that spawned from trying to ride that popularity wave. Same thing with like Power Rangers. Like I enjoyed The Mummies Alive because it felt like a Power Rangers Turtles combination. But then there's like the Mystic Knights of Tir Nanog, which was like 2 seasons. But I loved that show as a kid.
I remember hearing about that as a kid. I'm not sure if I actually watched it or not. And then I still hear to this day people just loving that series.
That one thing I know that gets looked upon with that is that it was the first time. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Saban or whoever was doing the show. It was the first time they were like, hey, we're going to make our own Power Rangers with our own suits and our own everything rather than taking footage and reusing it. So it's kind of a stepping stone there, too.
Yeah. Hey, you're a big toy collector because we were talking about Mummies Alive and that you started just picking up a bunch of figures from Mummies Alive.
Yep. You can thank yourself for that. Hashtag TM is playing TM is a real thing. I was in a chat with you and I shared a picture of King Sphinx because he was on super sale on Amazon. You are like, oh, hey, is that a Mummies Alive figure? All right, well, now you've triggered my nostalgia. So I go over to eBay and I'm starting to look at like the figures and I'm realizing that these things are like 15 to 20 bucks high side. Start buying them. Thanks a lot, TM. Then I realized that Nefertina and the kid, can't think of his name. But those figures were released in Wave 2 after the show was canceled and then only released in Europe. So the last one that I found on eBay sold for $800. I guess I'm not completing my Mummies Alive collection.
Oh, I'm sure you'll find one. It's Wave 2, so you got the Wave 1. So I think it's a complete set.
Yeah, it's a complete wave. I can at least say that.
And you collect Transformers as well as Mummies Alive?
Yep. Transformers are just an ongoing thing. I've bought figures from every wave that they've made. Certain waves I've gotten a lot pickier about what I've bought, but at this stage with what they're putting out, especially now that they're retreading Beast Wars, I'm picking up all of Beast Wars for the key characters. But if you guys haven't checked them out, check out the fossilizers. Those things are fun. You got to go with the deluxe ones. Like the smaller one doesn't break apart or do anything. I hated that one. But the Paleotrex, the T-Rex, and the Triceratops one, I don't remember his name. they're so much fun. They break apart. You can rebuild them. I mean, they're like Legos in Transformers form.
Oh, that's cool. I know. With they came out with the Grimlock one too, and all it is a Dinobot recolored with a different head sculpt.
Yep.
For like his transform. It still looks sick though. Like I looked at that Fable got one, and I looked at it. I was like, that it looks amazing. I thought it was just a recolored Dinobot at first, but nope, it's Grimlock.
It's a new face. Well, and they did that because when Beast Wars launched, like originally in the 90s, the Dinobot mold was repainted white with gold spots and named Grimlock. And I think that was done to keep the rights of the name at the time. So now with this one, it's actually got toy history along with being just a really good repaint.
So have you been collecting? When did you start collecting Transformers?
I don't know, pre-memory, literally. I think my first Transformers were hand-me-downs from my dad. And then I had a lot of G2, so I got a lot of the repaint stuff. And then Beast Wars, once Beast Wars hit, despite me having a real hard time jumping over into a new series at the time, because they hit at like the $5, $10, $15 price point, so I could go in, I get a $5 one every time we went to Walmart. So Beast Wars for sure was my collecting start.
I still remember I had what was it? I keep forgetting his name. Quick Draw. He was part of the Fusors. He was like
Quick Strike.
Quick Strike. Yep. I had him as a figure. I ended up getting him, and that was the time when they had the figures came with the VHS tapes. Yeah, and like I'd watch the second part of Fusors. I was like, well, I don't know what happened in the first one. Like I'd always watch that episode.
I think you had to buy Silverbolt for the first part because then Quick Strike came with the second part because they were the two characters in those shows.
Yeah, and Silverbolt was already in there, so I was like, I really love this character, Silverbolt. I want to figure out how he got started. So, come to find out, he started as a Predacon.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of side changing in that show.
Yeah, I look at it, I'm just like, okay, Tigatron's gone and Air Razor's gone, but they end up coming back. Like, eventually, but like they had to have a female character on the Maximal side, so they had to bring over Black Arachnia.
Yeah, well, and the budding relationship she had with Silverbolt at that point finally started to flesh her out as a character too, because up until that point she was just a background Predacon.
Yeah, a sly Predacon at that, like kind of, and then like it more fleshed it out that like Tarantula's pretty much like mind controlled her in a way, and like that whole part where he was inside of her head for most of it and wait for his body, that was pretty cool as well. I enjoyed that.
That was creepy as hell to me as a kid too.
Yeah,
I mean, it was like she is literally possessed and under his control whenever he wants. That is a freaky thing to think about.
Yeah, the animation in that was just it for the time. And as a kid, like you looked at it and you were like, this is freaking amazing. But like probably as you grow up, I did go back and rewatch like some of the first couple episodes, and I'm like, yeah, the animation's not that great. Even in Reboot, the first episode is not that great in animation.
Yeah. And I know at least with Beast Wars, because I watched like a documentary thing on it, most of their budget for the first season was spent on the transformation animation. So all the backgrounds are just very generic because it was like, okay, well, this is what we got.
And the animation did get a lot better in Beast Machines. It just, it was good. It was the same danger mostly all the time. It didn't change between the three bots that were coming after them. So I wish they would have had more fleshed out villains in that, like kind of like how they had in Beast Wars. But for all in all, the story was really great in Beast Machines.
If you say so.
Oh, you didn't
Machine, Beast Machines is one of those where I like where it ended, but the journey getting there, I had a real hard time with. Some of it was the techno battle music that you're going to hear 5 times an episode, every episode.
Mm.
And part of it was like the actual Maximals transformations. There was just like they sucked into a ball and then came out robots. But the biggest thing that bugged me with Beast Machines was Rat Trap and what they did to him. Like they took away he's a weapons expert and they took away his weapons and they made him the hacker. And I just didn't like that. Now Rhinox, I loved what they did with Rhinox. That was a story arc I was on board with.
Yeah, that was sad. Like I know he turned evil at one point in Beast Wars, and then we get that back. Like it's the kind of same kind of feeling you get from him from that one episode from Beast Wars in this series now. Like he's against everything now.
Yeah, and in Beast Machines, you actually get him like embracing that mentality. In Beast Wars, it was like this, like personality switch. So it was like him, but it wasn't him. In Beast Machines, he made that switch.
Yeah, and that's where we lose the hacker because Rhinox was the hacker in a way, and so now they had to replace him with Rat Trap, which they could have just had Nyx. Or was that the name? Nyx was the bat's name in.
That's the Beast Wars comic. You're thinking of I hate him too. What is it? Soundwave? I'm gonna have to look this up. Damn it.
I know, and I think it is Soundwave, which is a character from the OG Transformers.
Well, and they did that a lot with Beast Wars too. That's why you got Dinobot instead of a different name, because that actually let them trademark Dinobot, which is what the Dinobots were called.
Yeah.
Night Scream, not Soundwave.
Night Scream.
Yeah, and that was
I didn't mind him. I liked his kind of design. Like the animation in Beast Machines was freaking amazing, to say the least.
I like the animation. I mean, that was a full step up for sure. The thing I really didn't like about Beast Machines as well was the Night Scream honestly brought it up. There were Earth fossils on Cybertron. That bothered me. Now, fossils in general didn't bother me, but if you would have made Night Scream like an alien something, but he's a fruit bat, straight up. He's a fruit bat. And that bothered me because I'm like, wait a minute, how did anything biological Earth-wise get to Cybertron to be fossilized? So that was another thing. Same with Silverbolt being a condor. It's just like, where are you getting these modes from?
Yeah. I thought Silverbolt, like, and then I did not like that they brought Waspinator up there. Like, how the hell did you get back up here?
Exactly.
Like,
because like they play the whole thing where it's like, oh, he was in the tribe and then he got ejected from the tribe and they like catapulted him. I was like, yeah, but that doesn't get you to Cybertron.
Yeah, they transferred through a portal. Like, it's not up in space. Like, it's not just up there. Cybertron's just not up in the sky. They went through a portal to get there. It's not like you got catapulted through that portal.
Now, Waspinator, for sure, if they would have given like 10 more seconds to that scene and just explained that he just wandered Earth for billions of years or whatever and then found a way back to Cybertron only to then be captured by Megatron at his return, I would have laughed at that. But we didn't get that. We got a slingshot into space.
Yeah, the monkeys looked pretty funny.
Yeah, those were they're janky.
Yeah. So, and Reboot, what did you think whenever they were in the game? Like, Enzo was probably one of my favorite characters growing up. And then we jump ahead, and he's now threw away the name Enzo and is now Matrix with Andrea.
Mm-hmm. I like that myself. Enzo as a kid was a character I liked, but also a character that annoyed me. But he's the kid character, so he's supposed to. Then when he matured, it was like, okay, now you're a character I like. Like, you're badass. You're cool. You know, you've got this gun. You got the eye. So, yeah, I liked his whole character arc. Same with Hexadecimal from the bad guy side. I liked her whole emotional swing with Bob as well, but the whole going from good to or bad, evil to good for her, I liked as well.
Yeah, her becoming a sprite was just amazing. Like, I didn't think that would ever happen. So, but she was probably one of my favorite baddies. I liked her when she switches over from being good to bad. Megatron was always just that evil guy.
Yep.
And it's funny, like as kids in that we don't get the references to computers or anything like at all.
Or even just the pop culture references and Reboot alone.
Yeah, because like every game was different. It had a reference, like I know the last season it had a reference to Pokemon.
Yep.
And then there was an Evil Dead reference.
Yep, that's
like
what I was going to bring up. And that is an adult now. Like I've rewatched it, I don't know, a few years ago now, but that was the one that was like, wow, you slipped an Evil Dead reference in a kid's show. Nice.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff that you don't really get unless you rewatch it, but it was just a fun ride. And then all it was is like you're in a computer game and the user, probably being us, drops a video game and plays it. And if we win, we destroy the universe. Like you kind of think of that concept. You're just like, oh, it's like, oh shoot, maybe I shouldn't beat this game. It's like, how many sprites am I killing?
Well, you're destroying your RAM, that's for sure.
Yeah, because it would. It's like the whole section that cube, that glowing purple, weird-looking cube, would destroy that area that it dropped in.
Yep. If the user won, it was just a crater where it hit.
Yeah. And so I did like how they moved out of mainframe and moved on to different parts of it, because like they had to grow with the show, even though they grew. The main focus was the games, but like Andrea and Matrix jumping through games all the time was just fantastic.
Well, and you have to expand your world at some point, because that falls into like the Power Rangers stuff. Like the first season of Power Rangers, as much as I love Power Rangers, every episode is the same episode. You know, introduce monster, lose the monster, reintroduce monster, beat monster. At some point, you morph once or twice, and you have a Megazord fight. So if you just do that, you lose interest in the show. But yeah, like even with Power Rangers, that eventually hit like in space, and then it drastically changed up the show. Like by the time you hit Lost Galaxy, it's like you're not the same Power Rangers that you started with in Mighty Morphin.
Yeah. Well, this has been a great talk. And that before we finish up, I just want to say thank you for joining me on this day. I know you're in the midst of moving and you went to your work and sat with me for a good almost hour and chatting with me about everything nerdy. So I really respect that about you. And I'm honored that you are sitting here with me and chatting with me everything nerdy.
I'm honored that you had me on. It just being part of this community was in the very beginning was not something I initially anticipated. So the fact that I've been so accepted and just enjoyed the community on my own level and been able to integrate into it, it's been a real experience for me. So thanks you and everyone else too.
And you're rocking the Bad Batch shirt.
I am. I got my limited edition one.
Limited edition. That's so funny. I don't know why I did that. I have no idea. They still haven't emailed me back, but oh well. But guys, like I said, it's Whiplash Wednesday with the PCP Army, Bad Batch, and the Backlog Bros. Guys, one collection down was earlier. Now you got me. Next up is Nick Comic Culture dropping a haul video. Then after that, Big Herm Collectibles and Sam from Sam's Tangled Web chop it up about Marvel, DC, Indies, movies. Who knows? Tune in and find out. Then ending the night in fashion is Tomorrow Cinema, which this is What Are You Creating Week. We have David Boer and Jason Douglas joining us. Who knows who else will be joining us tonight? You'll have to tune in and find out. And then missing link, Stefan likes to pull Where's Waldo. He may pop up here and there throughout the day of this Whiplash Wednesday on Instagram. So go sub up to him or go follow him on Instagram And while you're at it, go follow Cryo Prime on Instagram. His link is down below. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and ding, ding, ding that notification bell for future video. So Cryo, Cody, what have you been reading lately for comic books?
I've stuck mostly with Transformers. I'm reading Beast Wars. I just picked up King Grimlock. I've got a couple of back issues of some stuff coming in, and I actually found out that Transformers has a manga. So I have volume 1 of the Transformers manga coming.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Plus, then I also picked up real recently the Power Rangers run that actually has the Draken storyline, just the paperback. I've got all the Boom Studios action figures. I figured, why not read the actual comic?
And now you're probably going to be going back and trying to find Firefly from Boom.
Yep, it's on my list now, especially since you said Boom, because I've really enjoyed a lot of the stuff they've put out.
Yeah, they also did. They're doing Buffy the Vampire Slayer, kind of like have a whole Buffy verse going there, and then I'm not sure if it's connected with the show, but the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, they came out with.
I don't know. I know it's supposed to be like the show at least, so it's darker in tone. Because like when you say Sabrina, I think the old '90s comedy Sabrina.
Yeah, that was a big. Like I was like, all right, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. I check it out. First episode, you have somebody slitting somebody's throat, and I'm just like, oh, yeah, this is not
the Sabrina I know.
No, but it was still good. I enjoyed it.
So did I. Once I knew it was a dark tone.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Yeah, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the '90s. I had such the crush on Melissa Joan Hart back then. Yeah. And then Hexadecimal, when she became a sprite, I was like, oh, yes, I was attracted to a cartoon, guys.
So was I. I like Hexadecimal. It was just a little crazy for me.
I know you've been reading The Edge as well from Second Sight Publishing. Are you going to be picking up any of their horror titles that are coming out, like These Damn Kids or Silence?
These Damn Kids is on my list. I've heard I've heard about that anyway, and I know their Second Sight is doing a bunch of horror stuff, so they've got my attention.
I think they're coming out with some trades here soon. I forget what it was called, but Freak Show, and then Freak Show Nights is a trade paperback that it's a comic that already came out, and they're going to be doing that. So,
yeah.
No, I'll keep you posted on any horror books that I know that are coming out. I've read These Damn Kids, and I highly recommend. I think you would enjoy that one. So nice. I'm not sure when it comes out. They have it set for September 29th, but who knows, because Diamond likes to push it back sometimes with a lot of their titles. And so just keep an eye out for These Damn Kids from Second Sight Publishing. I think you'd really enjoy that. What are you liking? What are you thinking about The Edge right now?
So far, I love it. I know that Marvin is building up a universe with what he's doing. So for me, getting in on issue 1, and now I've got through issue 2, because 3 I don't think is out yet. I like what he's doing. I like where he's going with it. Getting in as early as I am on a universe that doesn't have 100 years of backstory is fresh and got me willing to jump on board. So yeah, The Edge, as far as comics that I've been reading recently, is one that I would recommend to people too.
Yeah, have you read Blowtorch as well?
Nope, but that is on my pull list, I think, for Midtown Comics. I've been building one of them.
Yeah, Blowtorch and Chess. Blowtorch and Chess are connected because Blowtorch is a standalone character and Chess is a group, and Blowtorch is part of that group.
And Blowtorch was, is it all black and white?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I mean, coming from manga where most of what I read is black and white, I enjoy that as well too. So there's another reason that Blowtorch was on my list.
Well, thank you so much, Cryo Prime. Go follow Cryo Prime. He said he had some models that he done already on his Instagram, and you have a YouTube channel coming our way.
It is in the process. I'm not laying out a timeline yet because one thing is I'm looking into cameras and like I said, I'm moving. But moving forward, I actually through interacting with the community members, I've got this real like creative bug, I guess you could say. So I just want to film some reviews on some models I've done because I've watched a lot of reviews and it's like, this is great, but this one piece is where I had a problem with it. And you didn't say that. So throwing a little more information out there, doing some building videos. It's going to be a work in progress, but yes, I do have plans to do some things.
That is awesome. I can't wait. Make sure to let me know, and I'll just share the crap out of that for sure, man.
Absolutely.
I'm so pumped for that. Will you be just dropping videos, or will you be going live sometimes?
Currently, just because of the format of what I'm thinking and envisioning, it's just going to be dropping videos. I'd probably be willing to do lives if people are interested, but lives on like me working on a model kit just doesn't. Like I've watched lives of other YouTubers working on kits, and that's the point where it's like, I get bored after a while. So for initially, I'm looking at like build videos, paint videos, diorama videos, and just things I'm making.
That is awesome. So go follow him up on Instagram and look forward to seeing those videos in the future. Thank you so much, Cryo, for joining me. Station to you, my brother.
Station, thank you for having me.
And everybody, happy new comic book day, and look forward to the rest of what PCP Army Bad Batch has to offer you on this Whiplash Wednesday. Stay nerdy, my friends.